What's up? Welcome to Everything You Love, episode 39. This month, September of 2023, marks the 4-year anniversary since the very first episode of Everything You Love. And to celebrate that, went out on the socials and asked you guys to submit some questions that you may have for this special episode. And got a lot of great ones, and I'm going to try to answer as many as I can here in this quick fire Q&A. Let's go. Maybe not necessarily an Everything You Love question, but are there still plans to release the May reunion shows on DVD or whatever platform that will be?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm here right now at Spider Studios working on the audio portion of the mix with the wizard, Mr. Ben Schigel.
4 years, wow, time has sure flown by, but I'm stoked to see the success you've had with your channel. I would ask, what's the biggest thing you've learned about content video creation since you first started your YouTube channel? And what program do you use to edit? Much love back at you, Justin Royal. He's another great YouTuber with a fishing channel that's just super entertaining. I love watching it. Justin and I kind of started this thing right around the same time, and lately he's just taken off, and I know that's got to feel great from him, but he's a grinder and he's put in the work, and that's the biggest thing I've learned about YouTube here, JR. By the way, I use Final Cut Pro, which if I remember correctly, you do as well. Yeah, it's just all about consistently creating great material and trying to level up every single time. And I know that sounds obvious, but you can't do that without experience. So you just have to keep pushing and, just stick with it. There are so many highs and lows with this thing. It feels so great when a video is successful and people really enjoy it. And it feels terrible when you've spent time making a video you think is fantastic, but it just gets no traction and you don't really have real solutions for that. You just got to keep pushing, and eventually, the line graphs and bar graphs and all that slowly increase over time, and it's gratifying to see that. But again, you don't see those long-term results until you've been doing it a long time. That's what I've learned, and I feel like I'm finally getting into a bit of a groove here. And one final thing I'll say about that is, one thing I notice about channels that have gotten really big, no matter what they are, music, fitness, cooking, those are the type of stuff I watch, whatever. It seems like the more success these channels have, the more they put the pedal to the metal. It's not like there's some finish line, that you cross and then that's it. It seems like a greater hunger, comes upon you once you see more success, and you just want to keep going and going and going. So that's what I'm excited for. This little tree I planted 4 years ago has grown every single day. That's another thing that keeps me going, where it just keeps growing. It doesn't grow quickly, but it just keeps growing, and that's a great feeling, enough to keep me watering it and giving it sunlight and all that kind of stuff. You can see the analogy there. And one day it's gonna bear sweet fruit that I can't wait to taste. So good thing is, I don't mind waiting because I love doing this, and it's been rad. And I know you feel the same, JR. Here's another one. How are you able to finance the reunion shows? You're not affiliated to any labels anymore. Was it financed mainly by tickets and merch sales? You receive free help from people around? You still a business willing to provide help, materials? The show looked very professional at the level of a band that is still active and on the major scene. That must have been quite a budget from my point of view. But anyways, great show, great performance. I'm sure it will be the best show I've ever attended for many decades. Thank you so much, Irv. That's awesome. For those who don't know, he's talking about the 2 reunion shows Chimera did back in May of this year. And yeah, we just wanted to put everything we could into it to make the show just look professional and top notch, and like we hadn't missed a beat, and just to kind of keep up with, what bands, our contemporaries are doing these days and stuff. So to answer your question, yeah, it takes some upfront money to make something like that happen. But Chimera still has an operating account, and fortunately had some access to some capital and stuff. But really the only upfront capital that we needed was for little things like, flights, getting the guys in town for rehearsals, hotels while people are here. Certain things like that, maybe some truck rentals and gear movement and that kind of stuff. But after we were, let's say, cut our check after the show, because we make money from the ticket sales after the show and from merchandise sales. After the checks cut to us, then we cut checks back out to people. The other thing is that for like the production, all the video walls and gear that was brought in for the show and trusses and all the lighting that was brought and everything. We've been using the same production company, J Wolf Productions, since probably like 2004 or 5. That's our sound engineers, our lighting engineers, all that kind of stuff. We've just been using that same crew, great group of guys that have traveled the world with us. And so they bring all that stuff in knowing that after the fact, they'll get cut a check. So they just kind of do the work up front and get paid afterwards, pretty much like everybody does, whether you're working at Taco Bell or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we just, find a way to make it work. And regardless, I'm glad that it gave you the perception that a lot of money was spent on it, because at the end of the day it was, but it's spread over a manageable amount of time, and it's something that we've been dealing with for a long time. Okay, serious question. What is your favorite solo of yours on any work you have done? And what is your favorite solo of anyone else you like? So this is a two-parter. Okay, so my favorite solo of my own, I'd really have to sit and think about that, but the first one that comes to mind is Bloodlust, maybe Everything You Love, kind of right in that area. And I think those are back-to-back songs, maybe on our self-titled record, but I really love those solos of mine. They just feel great to play. I love that bluesy pentatonic feel, if that's not obvious, and the riffs underneath, there's a lot of good groove going on, both those. I'm a big fan of that, where the riff underneath the solo is just as badass as the solo, so those stick out for me. And my two favorite solos of anyone else, shoot, let's just go with Metallica. I've always thought for a long time my favorite Metallica solos were From the Thing That Should Not Be and The Shortest Straw, and both of those, if you were to listen to them after this episode, I guarantee you'll hear my style in those solos, because my style is so derived from that Metallica sound, and Kirk, my favorite player. But as I was just thinking of that, I thought of two more that I don't even want to call an honorable mention. They're probably as well favorites of mine too, but it's the And Justice for All solo and the To Live Is To Die solo, both of which I've done covers of here on the channel. Make sure you check those out. Congrats on 4 years of Everything You Love. I still have to check out a bunch of them. Here's a couple of questions. I know from the Resurrection documentary that Chimera's self-titled album was mostly written by you music-wise. Was there any particular reason, compared to the Impossibility of Reason, why you took more prominent roles as songwriter on this one? Do you recall what was your favorite song from the self-titled The Right? Also, what would be your favorite Chimera album from a songwriting perspective? In other words, most enjoyable to make? Well, my memory of the self-titled, I love that album making process, but my memory of that isn't so much that I wrote all that. I mean, my memory is me, Matt DeVries, Jim LaMarca, and Kevin Talley in the room for the majority of that writing process. So yeah, I was just coming up with riff after riff during that session, but so was Matt, and we were dialed in, and Mark and Chris kind of came into it a little bit later for a particular reason that answers another part of your question here. Why did I take on that more prominent role and stuff like that? The exact reason is that we're just coming off the Impossibility of Reason cycle. And, we had been out on the road for, I don't know, let's call it a year and a half or 2 years promoting that record. And, I think that guys wanted to wind down. It'd been a great, successful tour cycle promoting that album, and guys wanted to come home and unpack their bags and just unwind and stuff like that. But I was in a completely different mindset. From the last few months of the Impossibility of Reason cycle, I already had the self-titled vision in my mind. I couldn't wait to get to work on it. I knew this direction that I wanted to take the band in, and the songs that I wanted to create, those longer, slightly more progressive, metallic sounding songs. And so I just wanted to get to work right away. So that's what I did. And, so whatever, we get home on a Friday, take the weekend off. I wanted to get back right in the rehearsal room on Monday morning and get started, and I dragged the other guys in there. Mark and Chris kind of laid in the cut and just let it happen, because no one had a vision for what was going to happen. We knew eventually we were going to have to make another record, but like I said, I kind of had tunnel vision. This is what I wanted to do. So Mark and Chris allowed that to happen and started coming in later and adding their kind of stuff, and then they started to see the vision as well, and that's how that came to be. My favorite album process, the writing process, was Resurrection, without a doubt. That was such a great time for our band. Andals had come back into the fold, so that was a brand new, renewed energy. We had just signed a new record deal with Ferret and Nuclear Blast. So, the band was in a great spot in terms of its success and financial success and things like that. We were just in a great spot. And then we all traveled down to Sanford, Florida to record Resurrection, and met Jason Sukoff and Mark Lewis. And you guys have all seen from the Resurrection documentary just how wild Sukoff is and how fun of a time that was. And, every single day, because we were down in a different location, not going home, we all went back to the hotel at night together. We all came to the studio together. We had a rental Chevy Tahoe or something like that. So we all just traveled together. We ate all our meals together, just laughed nonstop with Sukoff that entire process. And it was just a great time for the band, and definitely the funnest album recording experience I can imagine. I think that covered it. Yeah. 5 or 10 favorite metal albums that inspired you to play guitar or just being loved with music. Greetings from Greece. By the way, we hope a chance to see Chimera or Elite in the Greek battlefield. Dude, I'd love to make it back to Greece. Chimera did in 2004, I think, and we had a great time. Killer City, I've got great stories from that little run. But dude, 5 or 10 favorite metal albums that just inspired me from the get-go. And Justice for All, number 1, Countdown to Extinction, Rust in Peace, Pantera's Vulgar Display of Power and Far Beyond Driven, Sepultura, come on. Oh man, Beneath the Remains, Arise, KSID, so huge. Even Roots, just that 4-album span for me, totally influential. So much great stuff in there from songwriting and riffing. Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding, 6 Feet Under, Haunted, Morbid Angel, Covenant and Domination, Slayer, Divine Intervention, Seasons in the Abyss, South of Heaven, even the Alice in Chains, Dirt, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusions, and Appetite, of course. So much great stuff. I must be forgetting right now that I'll hate myself for not mentioning before or after this. Bloodlet, Entheogen, that hardcore stuff from that era. You know, all that Victory Records stuff, Snapcase, Integrity. A lot of great stuff, man. But the staples: Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Pantera, Cannibal Corpse, I'd say. Sepultura, sorry. Saw both reunion shows in Cleveland, incredible nights. I found it interesting you gave yourself a C+ grade for your performance in another video, since I felt the shows and your playing were tight from the crowd. I can relate, as I felt this way many times about my own performances, but had to come up to me with the perception that I played a perfect show afterwards, to my surprise. Oh, but had people come up to me, sorry, afterwards. Could you name some shows Chimera played back in the day that you consider to be A+ performances on your part, and for the band's part, what constitutes an A+ performance from your perspective? I can't recall like specific shows that I'd call A+, but I have a perfect way to lay this out. I think I've mentioned this in some way back episode of Everything You Love, but there's a great quote that I've always remembered that I read Eddie Van Halen say, and it was that he wished they could record the album after the tour cycle. And the reason is, you know, the typical formula the bands follow is you record the album, then you go out on a touring cycle and promote the album by playing the songs and, you know, trying to sell the record, obviously, that sort of thing. But when you're out on the road, that's when you get good at the songs that you had written, you know, months prior or whatever. Everybody's finding their niche, and you find, you know, amongst the band members on stage, and you find cool spots where, you know, there's some little spot in one little song where a squeal sounds great every night, so you start doing it, you know, that squeal, or the band, you know, comes over to each other and everybody headbangs in unison and it's a great feeling part, or a part where you just like kind of like stop, you know, it's like a live, like kind of impromptu thing where the band stops, it's real tight, then you keep going again, something that maybe wasn't from the album. We all know those things where, you know, some signature thing. Metallica's got a ton of them where you know the live version in your head as well as the album version because of something they do live every single night, you know, die, 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 die. They extend that die by my hand in Creeping Death. You know what I mean? Like they didn't think of that before making the album. It happened on the road one night and the guys were like, James, that was awesome, do that again. And so we kept doing it, you know, that sort of thing. Slipknot with getting everybody to go down and like, I forget what song it is, Surfacing or something like that, you know, and then everybody jumps up in the crowd. So there's those things you learn and you get better at the songs and you really lock into them. That doesn't happen until you're in the midst of the tour. And so when Chimera is doing these pop-up shows like this, just every once in a while, we're in no groove whatsoever. Yes, we rehearsed and we rehearsed hard, but we're not 6 weeks into a tour, 30 shows into a tour, something like that, where we're just tight and on fire and real comfortable. So while I felt going into these shows in May that I was super rehearsed, as soon as I got there into the real world, you know, doing it or whatever, I could tell that I just wasn't as comfortable as I would have been had I played that same set or a similar set 30 nights in a row before that. What's your favorite band you ever toured with? I just gotta say Disturbed, not that I'm some huge Disturbed fan, but the guys were super great to us. In 2009, we went out with those guys and we did arenas. They invited us to open that tour for them, and it was just incredible. It had been a dream of mine since I was a kid, seeing those Metallica videos early on, just seeing Metallica performing in these arenas, what the backstage looked like, what the catering was like, all that, you know, just being in sports arenas and things like that. It was absolutely incredible. So when we got to do that with Disturbed, it was such a dream come true for me. And for the guys, it was a level of the mountain that's extremely unattainable. And we got there, but it still wasn't as glorious as it could be because that was Disturbed's crowd. It wasn't Chimera's crowd. Now that crowd welcomed us with open arms, and they were great to us every night. And you know, a lot of people say that that's where they first saw us and loved us and everything. So that was killer, but it still wasn't our crowd. And that is my absolute goal in life that I don't know if I'll ever achieve or whatever, but I want to have that environment, but it be Chimera's crowd in arenas like that. And congratulations to all the bands, our contemporaries, you know, that have come up that are doing that now. I'm seeing it more and more, and it's badass. What's the most challenging Chimera song for you to play live? On Broken Glass. I've said this before, there's just something tricky. It's a riffing and picking onslaught that's I've never been able to get comfortable with. And I think we've only played the song once live, maybe twice, but perhaps that's the reason why. Perhaps, you know, like I said in that other answer, maybe if we did it 50 nights in a row, all of a sudden it would become comfortable for me, but Broken Glass is a tough one. Do you ever think you'd consider doing multiple shows every year? Absolutely, I would love to, for the main reason that back these shows in May I keep talking about, it took so much planning. It took over a year to plan for all that and get everything ready, all the rehearsals, built this thing with all the production, bringing the crew in, you know, just figuring out everything that was gonna happen with the video wall and all that kind of stuff. We built this huge system and then it was over after 2 nights. That was just it. I would so much prefer to build that system to be able to take the show on the road or to be able to do on a consistent nightly basis. So do I consider multiple shows every year? Absolutely. Do you or any of the band guys have any contact with Andals? Can you tell us more about the relationship, all of you guys and him? We're all super cool with Andals. Any of us could pick up the phone right now and give him a call. I don't know if we'd get through. It may take a couple tries, but we'd just back up where we left off. And unfortunately, it's just kind of the same thing every time when we call. You know, he's working through his stuff, whatever. You know, we're all rooting for Andals. We all love Andals. He's a brother. But other than that, we love him. We wish him the best, and I hope he's well. I know every band has some silly working titles for songs when they write an album. Do you remember any silly or stupid working titles for Chimera songs? I definitely do. It started with the self-titled. The working titles for all the songs were like famous wrestlers. I don't know much about wrestling, WWE, WWF, that type of stuff, so I don't know who's from who or anything like that, but some of the names I remember, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, The Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake, the Junkyard Dog, you know, so every song from the self-titled was named a different wrestler. If I could name any of them, I think Save Ourselves might have been the Ultimate Warrior. Mark would probably remember. Tally would as well. But then, on to Resurrection, for some reason, all the songs were Steve, like the name Steve, S-T-E-V-E, for whatever reason. So Steve 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 22. I happened to see this a couple months ago and I was like, wow, there were 22 demos for the Resurrection, but a lot of them were different versions. There'd be like Steve 6.5 and Steve 6.7 and stuff like that. And all that became very confusing and it was a very bad idea. And then for the Infection, they were all South Park characters. So there was, you know, more obscure South Park characters. So there was Mephisto and Miss Chokes on Dick, you know, even, you know, Randy Marsh and Stan, and, you know, stuff like that. So there were a lot of cool ones. I wish I could remember more of them, but there were definitely some funny ones. We're all big South Park fans. Hey Rob, just curious, did you play bass on the Total Destruction and Magnitude albums? Also, are there any projects like this in the works? P.S. Thanks for the pics at the meet and greet. Rock on, brother. Hey, I'm glad you made it to the meet and greet. Happy to give you some pics, man. I do have a couple albums in the works. My next solo album, I hope to release this year. Finishing that up right now. And then I got another album in the pipeline that I can't say much about, but dude, it's killer. It's pretty much done. I mean, it's been stuck in like a mixing phase for a while now. It's being mixed by somebody where we keep making revisions and stuff. And unfortunately, I don't have the final say on any of that, but when it comes out, I can't wait for everybody to hear it. It's gonna be absolutely killer. And yes, I played bass on Total Destruction and Magnitude. I also played it on my Disaster record. I played it on Chimera's The Age of Hell record. I played it on 6 Feet Under Undead. And I even played bass on Chimera's cover of Metallica's Disposable Heroes. Can you acquire the DeLorean so I can go back in time and watch you guys for 2 more nights at the Agora? But this time, I'll do VIP both nights. I feel like you guys didn't miss it all. It sounded just as awesome as my first time seeing you guys back in 2005. That's awesome, dude. I'm so happy to hear that. An honest question. I seriously can only think of what's the chance of a tour and a possible new record. I know you've heard that probably thousands of times, but you guys are incredible live, and it's proven how much you guys, 2 shows in May. Thanks, man. I would like to say yes. I'd say that, you know, with each time that we get back together and do something, and as long as it's successful and we have a great time, which they've been both this past time and in 2017, I'd say the chances just keep getting better and better. Unfortunately, it isn't just a snap of the finger type thing. It's gonna take time, and only time will tell. How would you describe the many Chimera drummers as far as strengths and unique abilities of each? Andals, just my longest drumming friend and you know, companion in that department. He knows me real well. I know him really well. He can kind of foresee what my next riff is gonna be. He can tell what type of beat I'm gonna want him to play. And he is the most, like, I don't know, maybe creative of our drummers in terms of finesse and, you know, part writing and his fills and accents and things like that. He just does a lot of really special stuff, and I really think that's why so many people like him so much, because it's creative and unique. He's got so much Mike Portnoy in him, and he likes just a lot of those, like, you know, jazz and those type of players, and you know, he's classically trained. He plays marimba, so he's just got a lot of that. And then Ricky Evanson, he was next, right? Yeah, Ricky Evanson, he was fun, flashy, a powerhouse. But the thing that sticks out most in my mind about Ricky Evanson was his solos, his drum solos every night. Anybody that had the pleasure of seeing Chimera around that era, 2004, that Slipknot tour era, that sort of thing, we'd have him do a drum solo live every night, and those were just incredible. He's a great soloist. Kevin Talley, pure brutality, just strength and power, energy, explosiveness. He's the Igor Cavalera that I've always wanted to jam with, and we really connected too because he had a great ethic for writing and wanting to produce more music and analyzing parts and trying to make them as best they could be. So we really connected on a songwriting level and really focused and got into that, and that was what was really exciting about the self-titled record writing sessions for me, is that just that awesome connection I had with Kevin, who was always down to jam, always down. So Kevin was awesome for sure. Austin, he's like Animal from, you know, Sesame Street back there, just crazy but precise, always a great attitude, always wants to jam too. So that's cool. I like those type of guys who are just want to play music all the time, because that's what I want to do too. He'll play beats to anything I'll play, you know, cover songs, anything. He just wants to jam, and he's got a super unique style, ferocious, precise. I think I already said, you can just count on him. You know, he's gonna play the right beats, you know, what's supposed to be played. So he's just a great soldier, and there's no other drummers like him in so many ways. And I don't know how I can better describe that, but he's one of a kind. And then Ben Schigel, who played on The Age of Hell and has been Chimera's producer for all this time. He's got a finesse, just an untouchable finesse, a fantastic songwriter. It's fun working with him in the studio and when he's behind the kit too, because he's just got such a great musical ear, so many great ideas. He's always on top of cool songwriting stuff. He'll talk about Britney Spears and Lady Gaga songwriting tricks and things like that when we're working with him, you know, just to elevate things and take it to a grander level, because he thinks on that type of level. But his knowledge of drumming and he's got such a touch. It's really great. I haven't heard him play in a long time. I'd actually like to, now that we're talking about this. I'm going to ask him to get on the kit for me one of these days and just show me what's up. Oh, just to close, I'm so grateful to have been able to play with all these great drummers. It's been a blessing. What do you think about The Heart of It All? I feel like the song is very underrated, at least on the same level. Implements of Destruction. That song is amazing. Better than Implements, in my opinion. Brings to mind Call of Cthulhu. Oh, I love that tune, man. The Heart of It All, it's great. We never played it live, but hopefully we will one day. And yeah, I'm super proud of that song. Came together just like kind of strumming along in my bedroom one day, you know, just started putting it together, brought it into the guys and knocked it out. And yeah, I'm super proud of that instrumental there. I'm glad it exists. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances we'll get a 20th anniversary reunion for the self-titled? 1 being not likely to happen, 10 being hold my beer. Ollie, hand me your beer. Actually, hang on to it. Get me a fresh one, we'll enjoy one together. Cheers, brother. How was your mental state recording 6 Feet Under Undead? Those riffs are absolutely ferocious. Thank you, man. It was an amazing experience. As soon as it came together that I was going to be writing this album and kind of Chris Barnes and I got our working kind of like system down where I'd record songs and send it to him, you know, just hoping he'd like them and to see what he wanted to do with them. That was great. I just holed up and just started working on tunes and started spitting them out one after the other. And what was so incredible is that it was like Chris was just waiting for him, and I'd get them, or I'd send them to him, and he'd send them back totally done with all his vocals and everything, like the next day. I'm not kidding you, sometimes the same night. Like he would just get the song and take it over to Chaz's studio where he was recording, and they'd just knock it out literally in one day, 2 days maximum before I'd get the song back, and they'd be ready to go. And they were killer. Listen to some of that stuff, like 18 days. And well, you know, if you ask this question, but I mean, that stuff's badass. It's not just like thrown together or whatever, which it may sound like the way I'm describing this, but that's how Chris works. I wasn't used to him, somebody working like that fast and just being incredible. And the other thing was, like, I'd always ask him after I sent him a song, like, is there anything you'd like me to change? And never once did he ever ask for any revision of any type. So whatever song I sent him, he just put his vocals on and it was done. So that was a killer experience. And as I always say, I'm so proud of that record and the opportunity that I had to make that with one of my idols like that. I was a kid in the crowd watching 6 Feet Under on their first tour, singing every word. And then years later, I make an album with him. I'm playing Cannibal songs with Chris Barnes on stage and across the world and stuff. Come on, I mean, wow. What is a song you guys never performed live that you would like to play one time before it's all over? The heart of it all. Are we going to hear any new music from Chimera? Are we going to hear any new music from the Elite? What are your goals for the next 20 years? If you had the opportunity to fill in on tour or join Megadeth or Metallica, would you? First, will we hear any new music from Chimera? I'd say chances are better than ever, but that's not a yes or a no. Are we going to hear new music from the Elite? Yes, we've actually started that process. What's your goal for the next 20 years? To keep growing this YouTube tree, ultimately to, just because I love doing it. I love sharing knowledge and talking about music and guitar maintenance and unboxing stuff and everything. I just love every aspect of it. It's totally incredible. And at the same time, I'm building this platform to release music. I also want to continue and more frequently write and record my own music. And the best way to get it out to the world is to have a great platform on YouTube. So I'm simultaneously building this up so that I can just do all that. And if it takes 20 years, I think that culmination will present itself. If you had the opportunity to fill in on tour with Megadeth or Metallica, would you? Without a doubt. Now, Metallica, get me on the plane. I'm ready to go right now. Because as I've said, Kirk's solos are in my wheelhouse. I could play all that stuff. You know, if I was sent a list of 20 songs to have ready by the day after tomorrow, I'd get started right away. Then I could do that. Megadeth, as much as I love that material, as much as Metallica stuff, I just don't think I could play Marty's solos. So if I got asked to like replace Kiko or something like that, I honestly don't know that I could say yes. I'd give it a try, but I don't think I'd be able to do that, honestly. Will we ever see a re-release of the RA600? Man, I sure hope so. I would absolutely love that. ESP's deal is, and totally understandably and respectfully so, is they want their signature series artists to be on stage promoting their guitars each night. So because I'm not doing that anymore, that's why the RA600 is no longer in production. So I'd love to get back there to where I'm performing every night and bring out a new signature, a new line, maybe the RA700 or the 601 or something. Or I'd like to do a couple of them. So many people have talked about how they love the RA2 as well, the one without the pick guard. But you know, so I was thinking of having two options. I thought that'd be cool. Some updated stuff. So definitely I've got some ideas, but the only other route besides getting back on stage every night, I believe here between me and you is, you know, if my YouTube channel gets to a size where the exposure is just undeniable. And I think that's going to be the way of the future for a lot of these companies who, you know, the artists they endorse, maybe they're not on stage every night, but their YouTube platform is getting whatever product that is or brand in front of far more people than the stage could have ever provided. Okay, so that's gonna wrap it up. But before you go, I have one more super cool thing to show you. Do you remember, I think it might have been the last episode of Everything You Love, when I said YouTube creates opportunities? Well, let me show you an opportunity it created for me. But before I do that, I gotta go through the normal spiel and thank everybody for watching. If you've made it this far, I'm glad you did, because I got something special to show you. And everybody that didn't make it this far is gonna miss out on seeing this little, well, you'll see in a second. But if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Give the video a thumbs up. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters. Couldn't do this without you. You guys mean the world to me. And if you'd like to check that out, I could really use your support and help. Check out patreon.com/RobArnoldWorld. You can read about everything that's available to you there. Just some extra perks, getting a little closer, seeing the videos early, behind the scenes content, stuff like that. Again, I could really use your help. The guitar instructional DVD, shipping free worldwide right now, only $24.99 with 10 free guitar picks. Go to robarnoldworld.com/store and look right underneath that DVD for a little video to see all the picks you can get. Send in your order and get the orders out a lot of time the same day, certainly within one business day. So I'd love that, but I think that's gonna do it. Check this out. So again, about YouTube creating opportunities, look at this opportunity.